Hey, everybody. My name is Ethan Nash, and I am the CEO here at Nash Consulting. We are a small but mighty organizational development and leadership development consulting firm out in the Pacific Northwest. We've worked with a wide variety of organizations, such as some of the largest cities in the state of Washington and beyond, as well as large corporations, small corporations, and our focus is on people-centered, skill-based leadership and team development. And I want to just talk a little bit today about kind of one of my hobby horses, if I'm being honest, which is why emotional IQ, emotional intelligence skills for leaders matter as much as solid processes in an organization. So, management processes, let's think about some of these. Creating employee development plans, conducting regular one-on-one meetings, performance review processes and systems. All right, so these are all essential, and I think we can all agree to that. These are what create the structure we need to be successful in an organization. These are what make sure we're not just all going off and running in different directions. These provide the channels for communication. Our structure and processes provide alignment. They provide accountability. But if you are trying to build a leadership culture and not just check management boxes, processes alone aren't going to be enough. So for alignment to become cultures, leaders need more than just shared practices and processes. They actually need shared skills. And so at Nash Consulting, we define skills as repeatable behaviors, often complemented with repeatable mindsets that produce consistent outcomes. So, I mean, while each organization is going to have its own priorities, we've seen time and again that the healthiest cultures are built on a core set of people-centered emotional intelligence skills, or what we often call at Nash Consulting adaptive skills. So these skills are what make our management processes actually work. These are the skills that build trust in these management processes, the skills that strengthen morale, that invite buy-in from people into our processes and structure. So here's the problem. I find that far too many organizations focus on rolling out the right processes. Again, how to set expectations with your team, how to run meetings, how to hold one-on-ones, how to apply discipline. These are all processes and practices. Important, yes, but without investing in the relational skills underneath them, they don't work that well. Right? Or I'm seeing organizations invest in some training on relational or emotional IQ skills, but then they leave that training and continue to focus just on reiterating, reinforcing the more easily observed and measurable processes. And then those human-centered skills were just something that we talked about once in a workshop. And we don't build them into our culture. We don't build those skills into how we evaluate our leaders and managers on their performance. And I think it's a problem. I think it's a mistake. So a manager can run one-on-one meetings and goal-setting sessions like clockwork and still miss the mark. Meaning they're following the processes, but the team's not bought in, they're not engaged, et cetera, et cetera. Because, yeah, I have this great one-on-one process and this great goal-setting process, but I don't really know how to truly listen so people feel heard. Or I get defensive in these meetings or one-on-ones when I receive feedback. Or when I'm giving feedback in these sessions, I'm doing it in a way that actually demotivates people rather than develops and motivates them. So the process that we're engaging in, what we're emphasizing as an organization, becomes more of a hollow routine. and not really the cultural builder that we want, that we're probably looking for. Right. So what I find and what we find at Nash Consulting is that when every leader in an organization shares a common people leadership language and skill set, that impact is profound on the culture. Trust grows, respect deepens in those relationships, people engage. Because look, underneath every strategy, every system, every process in an organization is a person. And I think we forget that sometimes as organizations. There's a person behind all of this. There are people behind all of this. And people don't stay engaged through processes alone. Those processes help, but people need connection. We have human needs for autonomy, for respect. And organizations at their core are social systems. And humans have social needs that really need to be met in order for us to function at our best. That's why I find that the most resilient, the most successful organizations aren't just good at management processes and systems, but these are organizations that are grounded in human centered relationship skills that every single leader is learning, is practicing, and is held accountable for. All right. I'll leave you with this. I'm going to just share what we often call at Nash Consulting the trifecta of relational leadership skills. And so, of course, while every organization is going to have its own nuance of the skills they want leaders to practice and what those skills look like in practice, we found that these three foundational skills, when practiced consistently across the organization, can transform a culture, and it makes those processes actually get the results we're looking for. Because again, behind those processes and systems are human beings. These three core skills, these trifecta of skills, are listening with care and respect. And some of you might be rolling your eyes. You're either thinking, duh, that's obvious, or that's touchy-feely. I just want you to understand that feeling respected, feeling cared about, builds what we call the psychological contract. The psychological contract is simply the more I experience and see you investing in me as a human being, the more willing and able I am to volunteer my heart and mind back into this team, this organization. Meaning, the more willing and able I am to invest back into this team and organization. And care and respect are the greatest forms of investment we can make in somebody else. So listening with care and respect, so employees feel heard, not just managed. Now, of course, with each of these skills, we don't just stop at, hey, everybody, let's practice listening with care and respect. We take that skill, we break it down into its component parts, and we practice it over and over and over again. And not just in that workshop, but we leave that workshop as an organization and we build processes and system that allows managers to continue to practice this stuff. We review, we refresh, we hold leaders accountable to practicing this stuff. Okay, so this is listening with care and respect. Skill number one. Skill number two is receiving feedback non-defensively. When I receive feedback defensively and I do that consistently, the message I'm giving my team is never do that again. It's not safe to give me feedback. I'm not open to feedback, and I close off that channel of communication. I'm not going to hear the stuff that I need to hear. My employees are not going to feel respected. So I need to learn how to receive feedback non-defensively. And guess what? Even when I feel defensive, because I'm a human being just like you, and I tend to feel defensive when someone's giving me someone's giving me some pretty critical feedback. So I need to learn the component parts of receiving feedback non-defensively. So leaders model openness even when it's uncomfortable. And skill number three is learning how to give feedback with both clarity and respect. To give feedback in a way that is designed and is engineered to lower the other person's defenses. Because when I can deliver feedback in a way that lowers their defenses, they're much more likely to be able to hear that feedback, learn from it, and improve. So it's delivering feedback with care and respect, and don't forget that other part, which is clarity. And that's why giving feedback in this way is a bit of an art. Because showing care and respect and being clear about my feedback, right? Not sugarcoating the feedback, takes practice, and it takes particular skill component parts to learn. So, the trifecta of skills. Number 1, listening with care and respect. Number 2, receiving feedback non-defensively, even when I feel defensive. And number 3, giving hard feedback to someone with both clarity and respect in a way that's designed to lower their defenses. Hey, everybody. Quick interruption here. I have 2 things for you. I have an announcement and I have an ask. First, for the announcement, I wanted to let you know that registration is now open for our signature leadership development workshop series. This is Managing with Mind and Heart. It's the online experience, and if you register, you will be joining thousands of other leaders who have participated in this workshop series. We're talking a skill-focused, practical, human-centered management training, and you'll be participating in it in a cross-industry cohort of other leaders. We would also like to give you, our dear listeners, a gift. So if you'd like to register for this, use the discount code MINDANDHEARTPOD, all spelled out. MINDANDHEARTPOD for 20% off this workshop series. Additionally, just a quick ask. If you appreciate this show, if you get value out of this show and you'd like to support us, the best way you can do so is by subscribing and leaving us a review. This helps other people find the show. All right, that's it. Thank you. So look, I mean, we do a lot of work on helping leaders learn these skills, practice these skills, again, breaking them down to their component parts. I will link to 3 different podcast episodes that cover the component parts of these skills. But mastering these skills at the organizational level, like, it doesn't require perfection. It just requires practice, intention, requires shared commitment of all leaders to practice these skills. And it also requires accountability measures for these skills. For example, as a manager, am I evaluated just on the outcomes my team achieves, or that I've followed our processes and procedures? Or am I also being evaluated on demonstrating these skills with my employees? What you measure, you get more of. Okay. When an organization commits to these skills, when this happens, when these skills consistently show up across all people leaders, your culture starts to shift from a process-driven one to a truly people-centered one. And again, not to say the processes and structure are not important. They're vitally important. But just remember, behind every process, or behind every human system, are skills, and it is the human, it is the relational skills that make these actually build engagement, build morale, and build performance in an organization. All right. Thanks for letting me step up on my soapbox for a bit. Stepping down now until I step back onto it again at a later time. So keep tuning in if you like this stuff.